Oh, no.
Welcome back.
Go.
I want to talk about pain.
This is good.
A while ago, we did a podcast in Connecticut called Pain is the Mainframe. And it was a very like dynamic range of things that were talked about in that podcast. Like it started out with talking about something that a Dharma Center had posted and your thoughts on that. And you basically concluded just the podcast by saying that an authentic lineage of teachings is going to acknowledge pain as a fundamental, like, key component of the path, like a necessary ingredient for, just like for any kind of learning or growth to take place. I don't know if that's how you would say it, but this is just me trying to summarize. Mm-hmm. And I'm bringing this up again because I re-listened to the podcast, and also various events of the week led me to sort of thinking that there was more to discuss about pain and sort of what purpose it serves, what it actually is, and basically why it's important. And secondarily, like, maybe we can get into the relationship between sensitivity to pain and sensitivity to bliss. We can use different words to define it better, but I just sense that there's a lot more to talk about in this domain. Is that enough to get started, or should I give a little more context?
I guess, what is it that you're specifically...
Yeah, I could give a little...
Where do you want to start, exactly?
So this week, without like getting lost in details, there was a particular interaction between me and someone very close to me that was particularly painful. Mm-hmm. And it, among many things, made me question, like, what actually is happening when we experience pain? Like, what is going on, A? And B, when we do experience pain, is it possible for someone else to be the cause of our pain? Or are we sort of generating our pain, and maybe it's likely somewhere in between. I think you talked about it a little bit in the podcast.
Okay, I got you. So there's two things. I have no idea how long the first thing is going to take. Mm-hmm. But the second thing is compassion. You're talking about compassion, actually. So hold that. So we need to come to compassion. Or let me just say, compassion means... There's just so much to say. Anyway, compassion means that you literally can't do anything for the other person other than suffer with them. Mm-hmm. If an enlightened being could make everybody enlightened with the snap of a finger, that would have already happened. So it's impossible for one person to do another person's work. Mm-hmm. So, and that is the definition of compassion, I'm saying. That there's a sense of there's a bond, a shared identity, or a bond, and someone feels another's pain. Mm-hmm. And it tries to think about what's the best possible thing to do. So now let's say in traditional terms, or traditional any religious terms, prophets come from more evolved places. Prophets come from better places, quote unquote, because of compassion, because of pain. So that's what I think we called it. Pain is the mainframe.
Mm-hmm.
The whole reason why, quote unquote, spiritual teachings exist is because of pain.
Mm-hmm.
Not that pain is reality. No.
Yeah.
But because, anyway, so I just want to say
and also
compassion.
it's not something
Yes.
to strive for. Like,
Yes.
it's going to happen anyway.
Yes,
and
yes.
we don't want that.
So the mark of spiritual maturity is engaging with others in such a way that's motivated to educate or inspire. That's it.
Mm-hmm.
That's the mark of spiritual maturity. Or as I used to say, mentors can't help it. Okay, so compassion, and we can come back. There's more there, but it's really important to understand that. And anyway, I don't know. I was just also thinking about something somewhat provocative, but kind of fun.
Go.
Actually, so I was thinking about everybody's a Buddhist. Actually.
How so?
Like Buddhism is the only actual religion, let's just say.
Okay.
Actually. I was thinking about ordering some of Zongsar's books, but there's one of his books it's called What Makes You Not a Buddhist. Like just because you have robes, like just because you're a monk or a nun and you have robes and you have like a mala, or you have like a tanka up in the room, or you like prostrate in front of the image of Dalai Lama, or like you have it's like that's not what Buddhism is about. Actually, it's just about investigation of truth in a systematic way, in a non-dogmatic way, and so in a way it's like everybody's that. Or in other words, what's so amazing about the actual Dharma, and I mean that's another conversation, is that every single place that we find ourselves in life has been accounted for by a teaching or by a commentary or something. There's like literally everything it's all already been thought out. It's like a standard, it's like a SOP at your job. It's like, when you're here, do this. 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 And here's why. And also, you have to do it yourself. Sorry.
Well, you make it sound so easy, but is it difficult because the thing that's difficult to do is to place ourselves properly, like to know where we are?
Well, what's difficult is that we don't want to experience pain.
Yes.
So this is that's how to enter, to go through, is that we by definition we don't want to go out in the world and experience pain. Mm-hmm. But pain is the threshold. Like that is what is required in order to begin.
Yeah.
In other words, to subject ourselves to take ourselves outside of our comfort zone as much as possible, in a systematic way. Or in other words, as Western schools like to say, to die to the known. That is the ultimate spiritual initiation, is to die completely to who and what we think we are, and be born into the actual revelation of who and what we are, what we're inside of, our connection, how things work, and all of that.
Mm-hmm. But so on one hand, it sounds like you're encouraging us to embrace pain, but on the other hand, isn't pain an indication that something is not right? Like,
well, yes,
if there's pain in the body,
right.
for example, it's like stop touching a hot stove
Sure.
or something like
it's
that.
It's just how you define pain, and that's why I'm saying, what I'm talking about is comfort, in other words.
Sure.
So there's one thing called pain, which is my life is fucked up. My life is fucked up, and I finally face that and want to do something about it.
Mm-hmm.
So pain motivates us to improve.
Sure.
On one hand.
Yeah.
The pain of a loved one motivates us to try to help that loved one.
Mm-hmm.
Also. So that's pain with respect to what we're talking about here.
Yeah.
And to be clear, yes, legitimate, like an authentic spiritual lineage reminds us that we don't ask questions unless we want to improve.
Mm-hmm.
In other words, we're acknowledging a state that can be improved. In other words, we're discontented or confused or quote unquote suffering in some way.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so that's the beginning. Then that's the beginning of the path for an individual. That individual will go for some amount of time and then be introduced to the idea that now, in addition to being motivated to eradicate our own pain, the next stage will be trying to identify with others in such a way as to feel their pain too.
Mm-hmm.
And that's called compassion. So even if you're capable, even if an individual is capable of going through life chilling, that's not enough, because if everybody in life were chilling, the planet wouldn't look like we're dropping bombs on each other, we're doing all these crazy things with food or who knows what, medical industries, and all these things that go out of whack,
mm-hmm.
right? If everybody were clear and competent and understood themselves and this experience, then outcomes would be different.
Mm-hmm.
Right. So then compassion comes into play later on for a serious student. And that literally means that you can't take away their pain unless you help them realize the source of their pain.
Yeah.
And so then inspiration in the form of artistry, education in the form of teaching.
Mm-hmm.
Or in other words, skillful means traditionally.
Yeah. Well, when you talk about the source of pain, that seems like something really important to investigate. And is the source of pain for each of us actually the same fundamentally?
Fundamentally the same.
Okay. And we would maybe call that like confusion, or that's the word you were using in the last podcast.
I think confusion makes the most sense. I mean, just it's like
not
on one hand,
who we are.
On one hand, it's confusion. On the other hand, it's not even realizing that we're confused.
Yes.
Which is why Bob likes to say active misknowledge.
Mm.
Or in other words, this is what I'm saying about the uncomfortable is the entry into the path is about a tolerance, building up tolerance to uncomfortable thought experiments, such as, I think I'm free.
Mm.
Yeah. It's like, oh, really? Okay, well, what about food? What about air? What about the road? What about the language that you're speaking? What about all of these infinite number of things?
Yeah.
Right? And if any one of those things were taken away from me at any moment, or denied me for some, let's say for example, I think I'm a free being because I can buy an iPhone, like I always joke. I can go to the mall and I can go to Whole Foods and shop for kale, and there's all these varieties of kale.
I think I'm free to choose, or I'm
right.
I think
But
I'm directing my life.
actually, how about try not eating kale or anything at all for 4 days, and then tell me how free you are. Try not breathing air for 2 minutes and tell me how free you are. So that challenges everything that everybody has ever told us about anything.
Sure.
I'm innately this or that or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
My innate rights to do X, Y, Z. I'm just giving an example.
Yeah. Well, the one thing that still doesn't feel reconciled is that it seems like to call what you're describing painful, or you're saying uncomfortable.
Uncomfortable.
But you're also
as opposed
sort
to
of
painful.
Oh, okay. Yeah, because I was going to say, it seems like what you're describing is different than something painful.
Acute pain, acute physical pain,
or
acute
even
emotional pain, sure, mental or physical pain, different than uncomfortable. Someone is proposing that this might be true and I haven't thought about it at all, and it might completely upend my perception of myself or fucking experience. That's the path I'm saying. That and to your question about the cause of the pain, the acute physical or mental pain, the cause of acute pain is our misperception of things. But even what's even more fucked up is that we're not even perceiving that we're misperceiving in the first place.
We're just experiencing the pain and we don't
I'm in the
know
Matrix.
why.
I'm in the Matrix. I'm in the Matrix, and there's all these things happening, and I think it's real. I'm not even considering that there's this whole other thing that's possible.
Sure.
In other words. So that's the cause.
Okay. And going back to one of my original questions, like, I think the answer is yes, but is it possible for others to cause us pain? Because on one hand, you know, we talk about being responsible for our own body, speech, and mind. You know, I'm responsible for how I'm feeling, that kind of thing. But people can still cause me pain, or someone can still harm me, right? I'm just trying to figure out how to reconcile
Obviously,
that.
someone stays out 3 days drinking, and then falls asleep in the road and smashes somebody, and then that's that. Right?
Yeah.
Isn't that?
But sometimes, I mean, it's easy to come up with examples that are obvious. But I'm asking about
compassion.
The situations where it's less obvious. Like, am I causing harm to someone?
Compassion. It's the same thing, right? If someone's causing harm to themselves, let's say, and or confused or something, and you feel identified with that person, then that person causes you pain. But compassion is enduring the pain, willingly enduring the pain. Right? Like the passion of the Christ, like you're willingly enduring the pain because of...
Yeah, but I'm also... Yeah, sorry, go ahead. I'm saying, like, from the other person's perspective, like, let's say, for example, someone says, you've caused me pain. And you're like, well, like, how? You know? Maybe, like, that wasn't my intention or something like that. And it seems hard to determine, am I actually causing someone else pain? You know, like, it's kind of hard to discern, like, where, you know, to what degree am I responsible?
You're asking for yourself as a practitioner if you're capable of causing someone else pain? Are you punching them in the face? Are you exploiting them?
No.
Are you stealing from that person?
No.
Are you verbally assaulting that person?
No.
Okay, so then that's that, right?
No, but I think that without getting too much into the details, the other person might say, I'm neglecting them, or something like that.
Sure.
You know, and that's painful for them.
Sure. People can accuse us of all sorts of things.
Sure. And like, just to develop the context of this a little bit more, sometimes I equate this to, like, you know when Duncan goes crazy and he'll, like, he'll just go on a rampage and, like, attack somebody, but then in the process of trying to attack someone, like, maybe they're, like, trying to defend themselves and they, like, accidentally, like, kick him a little too hard or something like that. But he initiated the thing. Like, he brought this on himself. If he hadn't, like, gotten all worked up about something that wasn't really happening, then he might not have then experienced pain that resulted from that, whatever, chaos.
Yeah. This only happens when you're very close to people.
Sure.
Right? It's not like you're doing this with strangers.
Yes.
Right? So, you know how, again, provocation. Here's a provocative statement. The nicest thing that you can do for someone you care about is be hyper-competitive so that you can show them what's possible. Right? when you're really, really trying to get good at something, what you need is a sparring partner who tests you.
Mm-hmm.
If you're trying to get good at chess, for example, it doesn't make sense to play people that you're better than all the time. You need someone who's better than you to teach you how to...
Push you.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
So the same. So especially for the close relationships, especially for familial situations.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. It's fine, I'm saying.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So, I feel like another related topic to pain is what we might call forgiveness. If someone has caused me pain, or if I have caused someone else pain, then it also seems like a good opportunity to learn what the practice of forgiveness is about. Because let's say that someone caused me pain, and...
Let me stop you right there, because I want to be really clear about something.
Mm-hmm.
Compassion means that you're in pain all the time.
Mm-hmm.
Right? The point, the bodhisattva vow is as long as...
Mm-hmm. As long as space endures.
Yeah. As long as sentient beings are around doing what sentient beings do, may I be there with them.
Mm-hmm.
Right? And clearly sentient beings, quote unquote, human beings, haven't figured it out enough. Right?
Mm-hmm.
So if you're actually... if you actually mean that vow, if someone actually means that vow, to be an avatar, to be a bodhisattva, to be a hero, to be a, then you're going to be in pain all the time.
Mm-hmm.
Like you're constantly exposed to the silly things.
Yeah. But then, I mean, not to mix teachings, but haven't we talked about in the past, like, if we're in pain, then it's more likely we're going to harm others?
Well, that's not what I mean that you're in pain, but what I mean is that you're motivated to fix problems.
Sure.
That's what I mean.
Mm-hmm.
You're trying to fix shit.
Mm-hmm.
With a extremely intense sense of urgency.
Mm-hmm. So in the type of teaching that you're talking about right now, is the concept of like forgiveness or something like that, is that just part of an earlier teaching? Does that not really apply in the same way here?
Forgiveness would have been a practice for someone earlier on in the path.
More of like an individual vehicle?
Yeah,
thing?
individual, but like kind of like these are like probationary or like beginning things to try to do.
Mm-hmm.
Right?
Well, also because when you've talked about the forgiving practice in the past, you often use the example of the ball and chain on the foot. And, I don't know, in my mind, I have this visual of that, and I see that someone who has whatever kind of ball and chain on their foot, holding on to pain from certain relationships, would potentially be prevented from, moving forward on the path. But I feel like if someone is at the point of considering the things that you're talking about, of like really investigating what compassion is, and, like you're saying, being in pain all the time because you're sensitive to the suffering of other human beings,
yeah.
And you're actively working to assist them through inspiring them, through creating things that help clarify how to interpret their experience and so on.
Yeah.
Then you probably don't have a ball and chain on your foot.
No, you've already, it's like this is, again, now let me say, well, everybody's a Buddhist, actually. When we understand what it is, for real, and it's a word that just means scientist, like legit, discoverer.
One who is paying attention.
Yeah, that's all that it means, okay? It means that there's, anyway. So everybody's that. And that system is so fire because it's already clearly articulated. Every single answers, thought experiments, exercises that help us clarify all these things, right? So now, for example, you're bringing up forgiveness. Forgiveness would fall in a specific category, which I'm calling, it's a probationary, it's an intro category. Once we see that, let's take, I always use the example because it's a real one. Someone punches someone in the face. Domestic abuse, let's say. It's fucked up. It should not be. I'm trying to just give a little caveat here. Like, I'm not saying that whoever's getting abused should stay in a relationship. No, get the fuck out ASAP. Get the fuck out ASAP. But that scenario is an example where we can see something important. That is, abusers aren't happy. And happy people don't abuse others also. So now forgiveness is a gateway to that realization. That's all that it is.
Okay.
So once I can see that bullies aren't happy, and happy people don't bully, then I can move on.
Gotcha. So it's not really about the individual thing and letting go or something.
It's a gateway to discover something very important. Right? And then we apply that consideration to ourselves. Hey, when I'm happy, am I doing fucked up things to other people?
Right.
Have I ever done something fucked up to someone else? If so, was I happy? You see what I'm saying?
Yeah. And if I was happy and that happened, then it's probably because I was totally ignorant and didn't realize the thing I was doing was harmful to someone else. So it's either,
yes, but
I don't feel good or I don't know any better.
Yes, but then you take it another step, right? It's so not just that, but to your point, happy people, quote unquote, aren't abusive.
Yeah.
Okay, so then the question is, what is happiness? That's the question.
Yeah.
Is it intoxication? Is it like maximum intoxication? Is it maximum pleasure pursuit? Is it maximum fame and this, So then you're going step by step into this actual discovery, right?
Of what happiness
is. Of what happiness is. Yeah. And that's the path. And that is a way to move forward, is what I'm saying. So forgiveness, it's like... That's the act or the exercise of forgiveness is just a placebo to try to get farther.
It's not an end.
Right. So then you see who are the most, let's say, who are the happiest people? What might be another question within this. Who are the happiest people that you've ever met? Or something like that. Right?
Yeah.
And then you might see You might be like, actually, I don't want to use the word happy anymore.
Yeah.
Because it's not
precise enough.
It's not precise enough to describe the most inspiring people that I've ever met. Right? Yeah. Something like that. You're getting closer to the bullseye of what you're actually aiming for on the path.
Because you could also say instead of happy, it's who are the people that I see are best at navigating life, despite whatever challenges happen, who moves through life most gracefully and doesn't, get knocked down by it or something like that.
Who's a master.
Yeah.
in other words.
Yeah.
And then so we start to see, actually, that's what all of this is about.
Mm-hmm.
Is I'm trying to, what I'm here to do is to do my best to master this experience. And, you know, and then you go, how do we do that systematically? And then that's essentially what the teachings do.
Yeah.
Is they show us step by step, you're going to have to work on this thing, now you're going to have to work on this thing, now you're going to have to work on that, you know, like that.
And so when we're talking about pain, just as a general topic, I guess it sounds like that is really the entry into the path. And maybe as we go along, as we make progress or whatever, then we start to develop a little more of a nuanced perspective about it. But it does make me wonder, like when I think about pain, I sort of put it in juxtaposition with like bliss or something like that.
Sure.
And I wonder if there's anything to mention about that. Like
the deeper the roots, the higher the fruits.
Yeah.
So by definition, so yes. So the question is there a relationship between pain and purpose or meaning or bliss or revelation or something like that? That's the question.
Well, also, I'm glad you said those words just now, because it seems to be the case that when we even get close to like feeling like we know what our purpose is, that experience is a generally very positive emotion.
Yes.
And maybe we call that bliss, maybe we call it something else,
Sure.
but it's pointing to the same thing.
Yes. Yes.
So sensitivity to bliss is a phrase that is used sometimes.
Yeah.
And I'm asking specifically, is there a relationship between sensitivity to pain and sensitivity to bliss? And you're saying yes?
I'm saying, well, so you're asking a specific question. First, yes, hold that. But I just want to show something, for example, that there's a direct relationship between compassion and purpose, and the depth of the experience, the intensity of purpose and fulfillment specifically. Because purpose is like, you know, it's like it kind of implies there's like some potential, but the fulfillment of purpose is a specific phrase. I'm saying purpose fulfilled. So there's a direct relationship between sensitivity to pain and fulfillment of purpose. For example, a mother and her kid.
Are you saying the greater sensitivity, maybe specifically to pain, that she has for her child, then the more capable she is of perceiving what they need or how to help them?
Like that, yes. It's just basic like that.
And then when she acts to relieve her child's pain, she experiences the purpose.
She's embodying the purpose
being a mother,
of nurturing, caring, literally saving the life of the other. Right? So, it's like that. And that's the meaning. That's the meaning of the whole thing, is that there's a specific thing, quote unquote, identity, quote unquote, that she's embodying when she acts that way. And the revelation of the meaning is revealed in the act itself, to the actor, in a sense of, in a feeling of something being, this is the, something like that. This is what I'm supposed to be doing, or something like that, or something like that. The fulfillment, the realization of the fulfillment of one's purpose.
Yeah.
Is present in the act, I'm saying. So that's why every teacher is always trying to say, go help others, go help other people, go help other people. That's why every single teacher is always saying that.
Mm-hmm.
Try to go help other people. Because when you actually are doing that, there's something embodied.
Yeah.
You're embodying reality, in other words. Or, I don't want to get too, anyway.
Yeah.
So now you're talking about, so do we need to go more on that? So you were also asking what's the relationship between sensitivity to bliss and sensitivity to pain. So this is a practical, technical question. There are translations, right? There's silly words. There's a translation called calm abiding,
mm-hmm.
right? And then there's another translation called special insight or something like this. So, and also, people talk about distractions and like the mind is getting too excited.
Too loose, too tight.
Like this.
Mm-hmm.
So, Bob likes to say something about tolerance of cognitive dissonance.
Mm-hmm.
So, sensitivity to bliss and sensitivity to movement of phenomena is more technical, actually. So, for example, let's say you're meditating and images are coming or movements of energy are coming,
mm-hmm.
right? It's like some type of mental manifestation or some type of physical movement, something like that is happening, but it doesn't distract you.
Mm-hmm.
Or some type of more intense sort of inner event is starting to take place, but it doesn't distract you.
And you're saying that's calm abiding?
In a way, yes. But what I'm saying is that that's sensitivity to bliss. When bliss shows up, if we're not prepared for it, then I'm falling asleep,
mm-hmm.
or I gotta wake up, or something,
mm-hmm.
or some, you're meditating and something starts moving. Whoa, that's literally, something like that. Now I wake up
mm-hmm.
because I haven't developed enough. Sensitivity is a word that I think I was using, but also tolerance of it.
Also, this idea just came to mind. When you're riding a bike, if you pedal too slow, you're gonna fall off and just it's not gonna keep going. And if you go too fast, maybe you're going downhill, you're going too fast, you just fucking flip over.
Yeah, it's like this.
Just off balance.
Yes.
Because the thing is in motion. What we are is in motion.
Yeah.
So there's some sort of yielding and working with the forces that are acting upon us.
But technically, and just to talk, yes, this is a good analogy. But technically, when we're talking about sensitivity to bliss, so technically, when the word bliss is used, this is when it's a big moment of revelation.
Yeah.
Moment of death, or moment of major initiation.
Mm-hmm.
I don't want to say enlightenment because there are too many tiers of that, or there's
gradations.
Basically 2 tiers of that of enlightenment. There's basically 2 types of that. So I'm just going to say major initiation,
mm-hmm.
or moment of death. That's when bliss can happen. And going to sleep is like a little minor bliss, or if we have been practicing a lot specific type of things,
mm-hmm.
then it can happen.
Mm-hmm.
And so that I'm saying that's a major initiation,
mm-hmm.
or moment of death, also opportunity for major initiation. What's going to happen in either of those instances is the oncoming of our. It's an opportunity to remember something,
mm-hmm.
but the remembering is so intense that if we haven't practiced tolerating it, or in other words, being intimate, if we haven't made ourselves intimate with it, or practiced starting to become intimate with that
mm-hmm.
massive remembering, then we shut off. Then the circuit breaks, and you don't get to experience.
Gotcha. Short circuit.
Yeah, like that. Now, you could say sensitivity to pain, or in other words, as I was saying, sensitivity to discomfort, because it's so ridiculous. I mean, it's just so unusual, abnormal, that it's a massive discomfort. So if we haven't practiced learning to tolerate massive discomfort, specifically about our perception of things, then we have zero chance of the major initiation or utilizing moment of death to its fullest potential. This is why critical thinking and philosophy, quote unquote, as a foundation becomes so important, because you can actually start to loosen your mind up, quote unquote. And then do experiments like we do in class. Like, are you sitting on a chair? Are you sitting on the floor? Are you sitting on the foundation of the house? Are you sitting on dirt? Are you sitting on the earth's crust? Are you sitting on the earth? Are you sitting on space? You know what I'm saying? Are you sitting on, you dig what I'm saying? So it's like if there's some capacity to really start to engage the imagination, the specific visual imagination, and our capacity to perceive that, to understand, what am I sitting on? You know what I'm saying? Like, that is a way to start to familiarize ourselves with the oncoming massive, uncomfortable moment of revelation.
The fact that you're saying the moment of revelation is massively uncomfortable, but then simultaneously
dying to the known,
it's like massively blissful. It makes me think once again about the idea of cognitive dissonance, that right now we think that pain and bliss are wildly opposite ends of the spectrum, but I don't know. I don't know if this is helpful, but it just makes me think of like absolute value.
Yeah.
Absolute value of -2 and +2 is the same.
Yes.
It's 2. It's just a force.
That's why I said the deeper
energy.
the roots, the higher the fruits. It's like that. Then in absolute terms, when we completely die to the known, then we can live when we completely die to the known, then we can inhabit the unknown. Or in other words, we're dying to our mistakes and then living in what is real, true.